Hey, class 9 students. Today we are back with our chapter number 3 of chemistry of class 9th, that is atoms and molecules. Let's start and let's know about what atom is. In our previous chapters, we have described that atom is the smallest unit of matter that combine together to form molecules or the compounds. But how we come to know about atom is, right? So, to know about atom, the first incidence was given by Maharishi Kannad, and he explained that if we go on dividing the matter, that is any kind of matter, so we shall get the smaller and smaller particles, and these particles could be named as Parmanu. He gave the name Parmanu to the atom, the smallest matter particle, through which a matter is composed of. Right. After that, many scientists has come, the Indian and the philosopher English scientist has come and gave us the theory. But the first time the word atom was given by the Democritus. Democritus was the first one who gave the Greek word. He is the Greek scientist also. Greek word that is atom, and which means indivisible. Means we cannot further divide it into smaller and smaller particles. It is the smallest particle through which from which a matter could be made. But after so many, these are only the theoretical evidences and the theoretical postulates about the matter. But after that, many scientists have come. They laid the foundation of the different chemical sciences and provide us some laws related to it. They give the experimental evidences about it. They gave the law of chemical combination, means during a chemical reaction they observe some of the patterns, and these patterns are actually there to inculcate or to understand us about the presence of the atom in every kind of matter. So there are total 5 laws: law of conservation of mass, law of constant proportion, law of multiple proportion, law of reciprocal proportion, and Gay-Lussac law of combining volume. These 3 laws we are going to study in higher classes, and these 2 are still with us and we are going to learn about it. Let's move further. So, law of conservation of masses, like Antony and Lavoisier and the other scientists with him, they observe a pattern that during a chemical reaction, the total mass of the reactant will always be equal to the total mass of the product. That means if we are taking two reactant as A and B, and one mass is 1 kg or the gram, the second mass is 2 kg. So the C product that we are making, the C product that is being formed, it will having the total mass as 3 kg, right? So the total mass is conserved during a chemical reaction. So from this conclusion, we can also conclude that mass can neither be created nor be destroyed during a chemical reaction. We cannot if we are taking the chemical reaction in a closed vessel, so we'll get the same amount of the product as we are taking the reactants. So mass can neither be created nor be destroyed during a chemical reaction. We have also considered it as we can confirm it through the experimental evidences. We can count the experimental evidences on it by this experiment, that they have taken the CaCl2 solution and Na2SO4 solution in a different test tubes and the flask, and they weigh it along with both the test tubes and the flask. Then they mixed it. So chemical reaction will occur, and after the chemical reaction occur, the bubbling will be found, the precipitate could be there, CaSO4 white precipitate will be formed in the NaCl solution. So after the reaction, if we took out the weight of this mass, we found out the mass, it could completely same as compared to the reactant part. So from this experiment also we can conclude that the mass can neither be created and nor be destroyed, and hence the law of chemical combination explain us that there's something that is changing inside during a chemical reaction. There's smallest particle that is taking part in it, through which the different changes could occur, but it will remain the same by the mass. Next law is the law of constant proportion. It was given by Lavoisier as well as the Prost. They are the two scientists who conduct the experiments and find out this law, the pattern during a chemical reaction. What they have found that in a chemical reaction, compound always contain those who are containing the same elements present in a definite proportion by mass, irrespective of their source. Means if CO2 is forming, it's not matter from where we are getting it, from decomposition reaction, from the combination reaction, no matter we are handling it, how it is formed, but the carbon and oxygen will always join together in a definite proportion, in a definite ratio according to their mass. It is explained here like that. So if the 4 parts of the hydrogen will always react with the 2 parts of the oxygen to form the 2:1 proportion of the gaseous molecule of the water. So this experiment also explains us that every time when the 2 elements joins together forming the same compound, then they will always join together in the same proportion by their mass. They will be same ratio by their mass. Here we are having the numerical part also related to it, that it states that in an experiment 0.288 gram of copper oxide was obtained from 1.03 gram of copper. In another experiment, 3.62 gram of copper oxide gave on reduction 2.938 gram of copper. Show that these figures verify the law of constant proportion. Means they conduct the 2 different experiments in which the mass of copper and the mass of the copper oxide is completely different. So what we need to find out? We need to find out that it's actually verifying the law of constant proportion, that no matter how we are forming the copper oxide, but the copper and the oxygen will always join in the definite proportion by their mass. So for that, in the first case, what we have observed, mass of the copper is 1.03 grams, mass of the copper oxide 1.288 grams. So the copper plus oxygen will give you the copper oxide. So here we can find out the mass by the law of law of conservation of mass, that mass can neither be created nor be destroyed. The total mass will be equal to the product. So according to that, we could find out easily the mass of the oxygen. And here the mass of the oxygen is 0.258 grams. So in the first example, if we want to find out the ratio of the mass of the copper is to the mass of the oxygen, so we'll put it on over there, and by putting it we get that in the ratio of 4:1 they join together in the first experiment. In the second experiment, mass of the copper is given 2.938, mass of the copper oxide is given 3.672. Again we can easily find out the mass of the oxygen by subtracting the both masses, and we'll get the answer as 0.734. In the second, again, if we want to find out the ratio, we'll get the ratio approximately 4:1. That means no matter how much the product is forming, how we are making the product, if the product is CuO, Cu2O, whatever the product is, so we will always get them their masses in their definite proportion, and that is 4:1. Similarly, we have the second example also, that hydrogen and oxygen, it is already stating that hydrogen and oxygen, they are combined in the ratio of 1:8 by mass to form the water. So they are already explained, they joined in a particular ratio. So next question it is arising, that what mass of oxygen gas would be required to react completely with 3 gram of the hydrogen gas. So we know that they are joining, a means 1 gram of hydrogen will be required to form the 8 gram of oxygen gases to react completely. But if we increase the hydrogen amount, so automatically the oxygen demand will get increased by 8 times, and that will be the 24 times. You have 24 grams of oxygen will be required to form the water, because they always join in a definite proportion, and the mass is already given that definite proportion, that is 1:8 in the question itself. So for today it's enough, and I hope you'll understand the concept of these two masses that is explained here, and we'll meet in the next video. Till then, take care and keep learning, everyone.